starting to heat up, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the most creative scorers in the W.
Overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League,
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and everything Chicago sports-related podcast. Tonight, on July 7th, 2023, as we film this, obviously, things can change very quickly within the next couple of days. I wanna switch this camera around a little bit because the angle is a little weird. But we're going to be talking about something not Chicago-related. I wish it was Chicago-related. I wish we could have these conversations right now to where the Chicago Bulls could potentially be even in these conversations. But unfortunately, we are a shit franchise over the last 30 years, ever since Michael Jordan left. So we're not going to have that luxury. But we're going to be talking about Damian Lillard tonight. I'm really excited to just break this down, talk about what's going to happen with him. Obviously, if you were checking us out earlier today on the All Sports All Plays Network, we were breaking down where we think Damian Lillard is going to go. There's so many different conversations we can have right now. There's so many different directions we can go. Obviously, the consensus for Damian Lillard has been that he's going to the Miami Heat. His agent and Aaron Goodwin has said, you are going to get an unhappy player if you trade for Damian Lillard, and your name is not Pat Riley. And that's just the reality of the situation. But it's also smoke and mirrors. Let's be completely real about that. Let's break it down for what it is. Kevin Garnett, one of those guys that you look at, spent his entire career in Minnesota with the Minnesota Timberwolves, wanted to go team up with Steve Nash with the Phoenix Suns, and said he wasn't willing to go anywhere other than the Phoenix Suns. And that's something that you have to look at and understand, where not always going to get what you want. He ends up going to Boston. They form the Big Four. He wins a championship, and not only wins a championship, but after his contract ends with the Boston Celtics, he resigns. He resigns with the Boston Celtics because he finds out how much he truly loves playing in Boston. And that's really what the reality of that situation is. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried about Damian Lillard getting traded somewhere else and sitting out the remainder of his contract, or sitting out until he's traded again. Another instance we could completely have this conversation about is Kyrie Irving as of late. Kyrie Irving, when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, said, I want to go play with the Lakers. I don't want to play with anybody else. I want to play with LeBron. LeBron and the Lakers were on the same boat. They wanted to play with Kyrie Irving. They wanted Kyrie Irving to come into the fold. Obviously, that doesn't happen. He gets traded to the Dallas Mavericks with Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic. You don't hear a peep from Kyrie all year. The rest of the remaining of the season, he plays great basketball with Luka. Obviously, they don't win games, and obviously they miss the playoffs, but they play great basketball together. He's not a problem on or off the court. And then at the very end of the season, when he becomes a free agent, he ends up signing a max deal with the Dallas Mavericks and not going to the Los Angeles Lakers like he intended to. So I really don't take that into consideration. I really don't look at that and say, if Damian Lillard doesn't go to Miami, he's going to become a toxic player. That's not who Dame is. That's never really been who Dame is. And I don't think anybody else should really take too much stock into that, I guess you could say. But yeah, breaking it down, talking about it right now. Do I think Damian Lillard is going to go anywhere, first and foremost? And obviously, I think he's going to be traded. When he's going to be traded, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know how deep into the season this can truly go, but I'm hoping it's sometime before training camp. I'm hoping it's sometime before then, because then, obviously, like we saw with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, it could get ugly very fast. He obviously made a request over the summer. They ignored it. Then it turned ugly very quickly towards the trade deadline. And he played the remaining of the season, did not have an issue from September on, but the second that happened, it was just bad. But looking at that, understanding that there's a couple teams out there that I think could have the interest of a guy like Damian Lillard. One for me, before we get into any of it, talking about the Miami Heat, one thing for me that just doesn't add up is why this makes sense for Portland. First and foremost, the Miami Heat are in a very tricky situation when you look at their draft capital. You know, they really only have their draft picks from 2027 to 2029. They're not really in a window of right now. And I don't really see why Portland would want a 2027 first and a 2029 first. That doesn't really benefit them. Now, Portland's made it clear that Damian Lillard to them is worth 3 first-round picks and 2 quality players. To me, I think obviously that's the market they want to set, but I think they would settle for just a little bit less. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a 2027 first and a 2029 first to me isn't enough to get a guy like Damian Lillard. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's a great move. I don't think that's a great trade. I think, to be completely real with you, Duncan Robinson, if you understand who Duncan Robinson has been, he was solid in the bubble. He was helping carry them to the finals. Him and Tyler Hero looked like the white version of the Splash Brothers. They really did. They really did. And then Duncan Robinson turns into DMPs, one of the biggest defensive liabilities in the league, missing wide open threes for the next 2+ years, and then has a great series against Boston and then goes MIA again in 2023. That's really what happened. So I'm not putting too much stock into Duncan Robinson. And Tyler Hero, a guy who obviously, again, great in the bubble, gets extended, comes off the bench because he has issues with just work ethic and other things, has to work on other things, inconsistent throughout his career, injury prone. Not really an elite player. He's a solid player. I think he's definitely one of those guys you could look at and say a few years from now, he could be a big part of an organization and winning a championship. But as of right now, I wouldn't look at him as a focal point of your team or a franchise key player, a top 3 player on your franchise. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. Right now, he's a top 3 player on the Heat, but that doesn't mean you're top 3 for a franchise. You know what I mean? When you look at what the Heat were able to do, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. That's a big 3. Those guys carry your workload. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, it's not bad. It's not bad whatsoever, but it's not great. You know what I mean? So Damian Lillard, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler, that's a different conversation. But I just don't think that's a great move. I just don't think that's a great move for a team like Portland. I don't think they're getting their bang for their buck. I don't think they're getting enough. And also the salary caps, you might have to throw in a Kyle Lowry into the mix. And again, that's not a guy you really want on your roster for moving into the franchise, moving a top 75 player of all time, moving one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, top 5 arguably, and one of the greatest guards of all time. Not to say he is, but I think you can argue he's top 10, top 15 guards of all time in Damian Lillard. But with that being said, really breaking it down, who's a team that I think you can get your bang for your buck from? Who's a team that I think for both sides works perfectly and Damian Lillard has an opportunity to win a championship? When I put the math together, obviously in the last 2 seasons of Damian Lillard's career, or at least in this contract era, he will be making around $60 million a year. That's crazy AAV. That's crazy amount of money. But for the 2024 season, he will be making $45.6 million. That's roughly a little over $45.5 million. It's something that I think is very doable if you're the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's exactly where we have them going today. Right now, you look at it for what it is. They have Tobias Harris on a 1-year deal, which means that the Portland Trail Blazers at the end of the year could either re-sign him to a cheaper deal or just cut ties with him and it won't be a long-term financial crutch. He is on a $39 million 1-year deal, $39.2 million. That almost does it right there. Damian Lillard's at 45. The interesting one to me and why this is going to be important is Tyrese Maxey has yet to be extended. Tyrese Maxey is still on his rookie extension. He is only making, let me see where he's at right now. Tyrese Maxey is currently at $4.3 million, $4,343,000 on a 1-year deal because obviously he's looking to be extended. They haven't extended him, and at first I thought it was probably because of James Harden, but after they extended James Harden, I realized that's likely not the circumstance. Another circumstance I thought could potentially be happening, and this is probably what's more likely, they're trying to see the guys who were available in free agency, the Chris Pauls, the Bradley Beals, the Damian Lillards, to see maybe they could tie up Tobias Harris, a couple first-round picks, and then have Tyrese Maxey still on that rookie deal to make the money work. And then say, okay, here's your quality player. Here's a potential franchise player in the future. Tyrese Maxey, under 25 years old. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think he's a top 5 or top 10 shooting guard in this league. You could argue top 15, but I think top 10 is really where he's at right now. I think he's right under 8 to 10 if I had to. I think he's on the rise. He's one of those guys you have to look at and take very seriously. I think he just doesn't get the quality starts. He doesn't get the minutes he deserves. But I'm really excited about it, man. Stars is here. First time here. An awesome Richard Den jersey. Stars, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the follow. Thank you for being here, and thank you for joining the community. But with that being said, talking about Tyrese Maxey, you do that math, and it's about $45 million from Damian Lillard. And between Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, that's roughly a little over $43 million. You throw in their 2024 first-round pick, unprotected. You throw in their 2026 first-round pick, unprotected. And maybe, if you had to, throw in a third. Let's say it's 2028. Who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter at that point. But draft picks are worth financial value. Draft picks are worth those rookie deals, especially first-round picks. And that's something right now that would make the money work. That is $45 million clean. And if not those, you could throw in another player on a $2 million deal. It doesn't matter. And you can figure it out from there. But it's something that I think not only financially works, but it benefits the Portland Trail Blazers. When you look at the Portland Trail Blazers, you can say you have your backcourt of the future, Scoot Henderson and Tyrese Maxey. You have Simons still there, still being a mentor, still being a great part of this team. You could have Maxey come off the bench, or Scoot come off the bench and still start Simons and Maxey, or obviously Simons and Scoot, whichever one you want to do. Or you could even put Maxey at the 3. He's played the 3 multiple times. I wouldn't personally. I think he's better at the 2, but you can do what you want to do. You still have Shaedon Sharpe. You still have a bunch of other guys. I believe Jeremy Grant's still on that team. Nurkic is still a part of that squad. They have a solid young squad. You bring in their own first-round picks. They potentially have the Bulls top 5 pick next year. And then they obviously will get the picks from the Philadelphia 76ers, a 2024 first, a 2026 first, whatever else you want to throw into the pot. It is what it is. We could do this all day. But I think that's great for Portland moving forward. You have a veteran like Tobias Harris, who is on a 1-year deal. You can either, again, re-sign him at the end of the year on a cheap deal so he could be a part of this team and mentor these young guys. Or you can cut ties with them and you literally lose nothing. And you get Tyrese Maxey out of it and first-round picks. So that's really where I'm at. Somebody in the comments said, imagine if you drafted Mahomes. Yeah, I know. But with that being said, you look at the Philly side of things. Obviously, the team is going to be very tight on financial deals. You're going to be signing a lot of minimums, a lot of veterans, and that's okay. When you have Damian Lillard, James Harden, and Joel Embiid fully healthy, I think this team can come out of the East. I think so. And I think you can't make that argument anymore about Boston. Boston has a top lineup. They have the best starting 5. They have one of the best benches. It didn't matter. It didn't matter at the end of the day. You got to show out. And I think that's why Damian Lillard would be so important to this team right now. Because you have Joel Embiid and James Harden who couldn't combine for over 25 points in an elimination game. That's shitty as fuck. Pardon my language. That's horrible. Damian Lillard would not let that happen. Maybe they would score 10 points each, but Damian Lillard's dropping 40 in an elimination game. Let's be real. So I think that's really all you need right now to trust that process. I wish they still had a guy like Matisse Thybulle. I wish they still had a couple other guys on this roster that they didn't trade away for literally nothing. But it is what it is at the end of the day. They're going to have to draft accordingly. They're going to have to still do what they need to do to be able to make this happen. I think Damian Lillard going to Philly, honestly, is the best fit. I think it's a fit that Dame can embrace that culture. Philly is an amazing city when it comes to sports. Now, my guy Tony will tell you it's just not an amazing city in general, but he'll tell you it's an amazing city for sports. Rocky Balboa, the Eagles, the Phillies. I mean, the list goes on. The Flyers. I'm not a Flyers fan. I'm a Hawks fan, but you already know. They run deep, and they're for real. So you look at that and you understand at the end of the day, you need to see this team being the best version of themselves. And I think that's something right now that this team is lacking. I don't think you're getting the best version of the Philadelphia 76ers because no one's really holding them accountable. Joel Embiid is supposed to be the leader of that team. Joel Embiid is supposed to be the guy that you look at and say, listen, he's the guy who's going to lead us in the charge. He's the guy that's going to be the person to really make or break what happens with this franchise. But at the end of the day, to me, I think you have to look at a guy like Damian Lillard and say, hey, I'm taking over. And you kind of saw that in 2019 with Jimmy Butler. You saw that with Jimmy Butler, and you saw those conversations. Chris Gonzo, I appreciate you in the comments, bro. I see you. I actually was just going to the Facebook because I don't think I could see your comments if it's under my page. But I did see that you commented something, but I couldn't see it. But with that being said, I do think at the end of the day, okay, I see also Freddie Henderson's in the chat. I'm checking on my Facebook right now. There's a lot of things that could potentially happen. But I think you saw how Jimmy Butler treated Joel Embiid, and you saw that he was actually teaching him how to play winning basketball. Remember, they were one shot away with Kawhi Leonard from going to the finals. And him being sick that entire series didn't benefit. Now, I'm not making excuses, but Joel Embiid had the stomach flu or some stomach virus, and it was horrible. And then obviously years later, he's injured and all these other things are happening, and it is what it is. But Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, James Harden. Tell me you don't want it. Tell me if you're Philly, you don't want it. I'm willing to do anything. That's really where I'm at with it right now. Freddie Henderson's in the comments saying Spurs have the cap space. After the way Victor Wembanyama played tonight, no disrespect, because obviously it's only one game in the summer league. Dame is not going to a rebuilding team, even if Pop is there. Victor definitely didn't have a great night. It is what it is. Dame and Victor would be cool, but again, health is wealth. Health is everything. Would you rather have a big man as a rookie, or would you rather have the reigning MVP who's been in the league for 10 years in Joel Embiid? I think you have to go with Joel Embiid. You have to go with Philly. You have to go with the consensus of a team that's actually trying to go out of their way to bring in talent. The Spurs haven't done that. They've literally just ridden off Pop the last several years. And Chris Gonzo, the man, the myth, the legend himself of the All Sports, All Plays Network. You can check him out at Gonzo's Sports Room all the time with him and Tony Gonzalez. They do an amazing show over there, amazing wrestling shows. Definitely check that out. He says, I don't think Lillard gets traded until later in the season. And I think that's really, I think, what everybody's trying to avoid. I saw a great synopsis on it. I believe it was Woj earlier today, really breaking that down and saying when Kevin Durant made that move and said, I want to trade. He requested a trade, obviously, last summer. And it was kind of low key. Nobody really knew about it. It kind of just got brushed away. Of course you do. Move about your day. KD played the entire first half of the season, no issues, no complaints, no nothing. At least not that the public could see or the media could see. Second the trade deadline rolls around, he tells you straight up, yo, you don't trade me, it's going to be a problem. And I think that's what a lot of people are trying to avoid right now. You don't want those problems. You don't want those conflicts. And that's really, I think, at the end of the day is what you want to do with Dame, because I don't see Dame as a disrespectful person. I don't see Dame as one of those guys that's going to force his way out of an organization. But it's definitely something right now that moving forward, you have to look at it and say, at some point, this is going to get ugly. At some point, this is going to get frustrating. And I made the point earlier that Kyrie said he wanted to play with the Lakers, and then he ended up re-signing with Dallas after he got traded there. Kevin Garnett said he only wanted to play with Steve Nash in Phoenix. He ended up winning the championship in Boston when he got traded there. Obviously, he re-signs after his deal was over with Boston. He still re-signed with Boston. So I don't want to hear I'm only playing with Miami. If Dame gets traded somewhere else, I don't see Dame sitting out. I don't see Dame forcing his way out. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. Again, don't know him, but doesn't seem like that kind of guy off of the character that he's shown us over the 10 plus years of his career in the NBA and just in the career of his entirety in college and everywhere. He's a grateful guy. He's happy to be here. And I don't really see him being toxic like that. But I think right now, really looking at it for what it is and understanding Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, trusting the process with James Harden, making James Harden say, maybe I do want to stay here. I think that's a recipe for success. I really do. And obviously, these guys got to stay healthy. Damian Lillard played 29 games in 2021. He played, 57 games in 2022? What's he going to do in 2023? Who knows? I don't know. But you can't say it like that. You know what I mean? You can't sit here and say, what happens if Steph Curry gets injured this year? What happens if Joel Embiid gets injured? What happens if LeBron gets injured? Like, we can do that all day, but you can't set up your season like that because anything can happen to anybody at any time. Now, if you're going up against like a Derrick Rose and you're giving him max money, then okay, I'd bet against it. But it's definitely something where Dame hasn't had catastrophic injuries throughout his entire career, so I'd bet my bottom dollar that he's going to be all right more than likely. Sam had an amazing comment. I'm losing my voice today. Sam had an amazing comment saying, might get ugly before the season if no trade happens, but what if the young guys gel quickly and they start winning in Portland? That's a great conversation. That's a great starter, and that's something that I think right now would only benefit Portland. I think Dame is not at the point where he thinks he's going to win with these guys. Scoot Henderson, which, by the way, after seeing Victor Wembanyama's performance, a little recency bias, I locked him in as my rookie of the year on DraftKings right now, plus 350. I only put $5 down. It's a $22 win. We'll see what happens. Chet Holmgren is also on there as well. Totally forgot not only that he was in the league, but that he's technically still a rookie because he missed the entirety of the 2022 season. So he would be an interesting one for rookie of the year as well, especially because OKC is actually probably going to win a good amount of games. But Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, obviously Nurkic and company. I think they still have Jeremy Grant, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me on that. I think that's a solid squad. And then on top of that, Damian Lillard. You know what I mean? And obviously they still have Simons. So you have a great team of young players, but you don't have a great team of winners. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And if you were to get, like we said earlier, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, and multiple first-round picks from Philly, you're getting another guy under 25 years old who could be a top 10 player in this league at some point in his career. You're getting a veteran on a one-year deal in Tobias Harris who can really mentor these guys like Shaedon Sharpe and company and really just try to make them the best versions of them and also maybe win some games in the process. Like, tell me that a roster in no order, you have Scoot Henderson, who is arguably a number one pick if it wasn't for Victor Wembanyama being 2K my character. And obviously the Charlotte Hornets overdrafting Brandon Miller, who went 5 for 15 today. Not to be a jerk, but I thought it was a reach. Scoot Henderson, who's a consensus number one overall pick in any other draft. You have Simons, who's showing that he can get better every single year. Tyrese Maxey, who's shown he can be a franchise player if you give him the opportunity to. Shaedon Sharpe, who's a young player under 25. You have Nurkic, who's a veteran who can do what he needs to do, get a double-double for you whenever he's healthy. Tobias Harris, who's shown he's a great veteran. To me, Jeremy Grant, great veteran. You have a process right now with a bunch of players who are young and a bunch of veterans who can learn and teach at the same time. Because a lot of those veterans don't know how to win. But I think they could teach these guys how to be great players in the NBA. And I think that's something that Portland would have to take an opportunity to look at. I don't think in any way, shape, or form that the Spurs would even be in a conversation for a guy like Dame. And honestly, I don't think they have the assets. Like, really, what are you going to offer? Keeland? I mean, you're not going to offer Victor. You know what I mean? Are you going to offer Pop? Pop 75. Even if you do offer Pop, do I want Pop? You know what I mean? Like, for what, 2 years? And Pop could just retire if he wanted to. Like, there's so many options. I think there's so many teams. The Boston Celtics could be in on Dame. Pretty much everybody except the Chicago Bulls is likely in on Dame, and watch him end up going to the Bulls, and I look like an idiot. But I just think obviously that's one of the teams that I'm not looking at because it just financially probably wouldn't work. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Getting a little bit into here before we leave, I want to talk a little bit about Summer League. Summer League was a blast. Summer League sounded like fun. Summer League looked like a good time. Currently watching the Golden State Warriors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Not too much going on in that game. But nonetheless, it's a lot of fun. It's something that I think moving forward needs to be paid more attention to. I would love to cover it at some point next year. There's a lot of NBA players that are also going to these games. It seems like a lot of fun. It seems like something that I would want to do moving forward. Like it's a lot of fun. But with that being said, really breaking it down, we got a Philly fan in here, Damian Lillard to Philly. I hope you guys are into that. But yeah, financially it works. Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey and a couple first round picks, 2024, 2026 for Damian Lillard going to the Philadelphia 76ers. You have a new big three in the league that's going to sell tickets. Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, and James Harden. I'm for it. I wish Thibault was still a part of that team. That'd be their defensive guy. Damian says trade Patrick Williams, Lonzo, Vooch, next year's first rounder, and compensation draft picks for Dame. No way they take that. They want to get young. They want quality picks. And from what I'm hearing, they want 3 to 4 first round picks. The only reason I'm saying you only have to give 2 if you're Philly is because if you're giving Tyrese Maxey, that's pretty much a solidified stud. You know what I mean? Like, that's your first round pick. That's the third first round pick. And you get Tobias Harris in the mix, who's still a solid veteran on an expiring deal. You don't have to be handcuffed to him for years. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year anyways. So that's really where I'm at with that. But I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. I appreciate you guys for being here and always appreciating everything I do, man. I love you guys. We got some new jerseys and new t-shirts coming out soon. New hoodies, jerseys, t-shirts. We got blankets, mugs, all Mike on the Mic. Obviously, if you see the new logo up top, it's not this old one. It's an old logo. We got the new logo up top right now. Those are going to be dropping on Monday, so I'm going to definitely check those out. You can follow me on the Shy.Kid anywhere and check those out. Follow me on Instagram Threads. I don't really know what's going on with Instagram Threads, but hey, we're there. We're tweeting. It's pretty dope. It's a good vibe. I'm rocking with it. But until then, I'm going to check you guys out on the next one. I appreciate everybody who tuned into the live today. I'm fumbling the bag towards the end. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, this is Mike Hughes from Mike on the Mic and the All Sports All Plays Network. Peace.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.